Okay, so this is going to be another Werewolf the Apocalypse LARP video. This one's going to be about playing a Get of Fenris. Okay, well, you're making a Get of Fenris. First thing you should keep in mind is if you're going to go with the heritage side of it, and therefore pure breed, you're probably going to be from a number of different areas. You're either going to be Germanic, Scandinavian, possibly Icelandic or Orcadian. Those tend to be the prime areas for Get of Fenris. Now, of course, that's not including like Appalachian, American types. I'm looking at the ancestral type homelands, because after all, the Black Forest has the oldest and largest Get of Fenris cairn of that exists to date. Okay, the Get of Fenris. They view themselves as the point of the spear, because we are the warriors of Gaia, therefore we are a big weapon. They view themselves as the point. They are the strongest. They are the most powerful. They have the ability to hurt the enemy the worst. This adds a level of callousness and condescendingness to them, because they believe they are the most powerful. They are the strongest. They are the best fighters, the most capable, and all others are beneath them. And that carries over. It gets a very haughty attitude, but in a very arrogant sort of fashion. They are a misogynistic type group. They tend to view males as the ultimate alphas in that regard. Now, that doesn't mean that females are held back, because the Shield Maidens were a part of history, so were the Valkyries, and that leads to one of their camps. There's a camp that basically is made up of a number of female Get of Fenris, not to mention some others they've adopted in, that they kind of stand off against that misogynistic attitude, and they kind of go for the equality rights and such, but they don't believe in the whininess that they view in the Black Furies. So they go at it from a strength point of view. Outside of that, most of the camps of the Get of Fenris are not LARP friendly in a lot of ways. They don't tend to carry over to good troop style play. I mean, the Hand of Tyr, they tend to want to run off and do their thing. It's kind of a loner type group. There's a camp based, that's based around Loki. They're kind of the spy masters, and a lot of times they tend to stay within Get Society, so you don't see them as much. Of course, there's the Swords of Heimdall, but they're the dirty secret that they don't really play. They don't translate over well to character play, at least player characters. And because of the organizations we've been in and the storylines that not only have we run, but functionally, the Swords of Heimdall was something that I started that storyline. We had a concept for a story that involved the resurgent Sword of Heimdall, and TGN took it to a different direction. They let it out there. So the Swords of Heimdall are that dirty secret that's been exposed, and in the end, it's weakened the Get of Fenris, at least politically. Now, politically, they're very interesting. Do they support the Silverfangs? If the Silverfangs are strong, do they not support the Silverfangs? Well, if they're weak, they're not going to support them. The Get of Fenris are all about the strong leaders. They tend to flip-flop as overall as a tribe. They're one of the, I don't know what you want to call it. They're one of the fence tribes, because they'll support the Silverfang leadership, but if they view the a counter group as being stronger, they're going to support them. In Europe, the Margrave Knetzgio, he's a Shadow Lord, and he basically started taking over, and the Get of Fenris flocked to him because he was strong. Here in the New World, King Jonas Albrecht is a strong Silverfang and a strong leader. So the Get of Fenris, they flock to him. Now that's on the national scale. On the international scale, when you start getting more local, it gets a little more interesting. Now, they do have some hereditary, I don't want to say hereditary, they do have some genre enemies. They don't get along well with the Shadow Lords. They don't get along well with the Fianna for the most part. The Fianna view them as dumb brutes. They view the Fianna as dumb drunks who are too stuck up, and they've got they've got functionally kind of a teacher's pet position under the Silverfang. They don't particularly care for the Shadow Lords because they think the Shadow Lords are too sneaky, and frankly, that kind of annoys them. They also have problems with the Black Furies because, well, they're women. Bonars are weak, children of Gaia. Well, they're all, peaceniks, and they don't like that particularly much. They don't have a whole lot of allies. Sometimes they'll respect the Wendigo, because the Wendigo, they're kind of a strong group. Outside of them, they'll, a number of them, they do respect the Red Talons, because the Red Talons are vicious, and they like that savagery. But that's it. See, and that kind of all plays into one of the big flaw to playing a Get of Fenris. They have the equivalent of an intolerance, something they can't abide. Now, this usually comes down as cowardice. It could be lesser animals, weakness, betrayal, treachery, you name it. There's always something that will set a Get off as a weakness. There's one weakness that they cannot stand. Every single one of them has it. It's the flaw of the tribe. So if you're going to play a Get of Fenris, regardless of the auspice you're going to play, you're probably going to be a very martial character. You're going to have some decent fighting skills, and a lot of skills are going to be revolved around that, or they're going to be revolved around combat based. Like a healer will be more of a combat healer than they will be, the nurturing type. And their mysticism is more Northern European in nature. I mean, they have rites based off this. Rune stones. They throw the rune stones. They read the future in them. You're going to see stuff like that. And when you're playing a Get, you're going to want to learn some of the lingo. You're going to want to learn how to use some of the Germanic terms, such as calling a Ragamesh a Rodegar, or calling a Galliard a Scald. I mean, Philodox Forsetti, Modi and Godi for the Arun and the Theurge. You have to learn how to start using those terms, because when you do start using them, amongst the Get of Fenris at least, it adds to the ambiance. It adds to the flavor of your character, and your character actually gets a lot more credibility and respect. Now, if you want to add to your character prop-wise, you can go with anything that is heritage-based. I mean, we actually saw the other day, we were at a festival, and we saw a pendant, which I think my daughter got. And I really kind of wish I'd gotten it for future Get of Fenris characters, but it was functionally a pendant that was the Hammer of Odin. It would have been just a nice little prop. When I used to play a character called Bane Smasher, I took some of that liquid scarring material and we put it on the eyes to reflect one of my battle scars. That adds to it. All that was stuff that tightened up the skin, but it made it look like the puckering of battle scars. It adds to your character. Putting on something that looks like like a SWAT vest gives the impression of armor. So those are some little tidbits you can do with costuming. And then sometimes it's about carrying yourself. You have to carry yourself in a dangerous fashion. You have to have a swagger to you, or like there's got to be a gait where when you walk, you're walking with purpose, and you're the king of the room. You're the king of the whatever area you're in. It's all about having your shoulders put out. You're going to husk them out a little bit, so you're going to make yourself look bigger, kind of puff up. People actually, they take to that. A Get of Fenris player that actually sits there with their shoulders down, head down, looking all meek and kind of feeble, they're not going to get good play. So you're going to want to play off on this. I mean, granted, there could be weak ones and such, but it doesn't happen all that often. And sometimes you got to understand, you got to look at the spirits that you guys are associated with. Fenris is kind of like the older cousin of Wolf. It's a huge freaking dire wolf that it's all about attacking things and eating things. It eats its enemies. It believes in attacking savagely head on. It'll run with the pack, of course, and it'll attack with pack tactics. But it's all about the brutality. They say victory through superior firepower. No, it's victory through just pure savage superiority. A lot of the spirits amongst their, underneath them reflect this. And they're vast. I mean, a lot of the Vikings used to be seafarers. So sea drake's under there. And sea drake is a vicious predator when it comes to the water. And we've had encounters with that in our sept. Fire drake, very vicious dragon-like creature. Breathes fire, but it covets gold like you've never seen before. There's a few others, and even have some of the weird ones like Ratatosk. Ratatosk is functionally a squirrel. Now, it comes across as a giant squirrel a lot, so that's kind of interesting. But it's got that squirrel mentality, which most people are going to say, a squirrel? How is a squirrel going to be big and brutish and vicious and, They're not. But it reflects the other aspect of it, the fact that they, they'll take some lessons, some joy, some relief, stress relief in their joking and their revelry. Because the Get of Fenris are not just, they're not always going to be haughty and kind of curmudgeon-like. Think about the Norse, the Norse halls. They're going to enjoy their mead. They're going to enjoy their revelry and their singing. They're going to feast, especially in victory. So you gotta approach the Get of Fenris with, you have a lust for life, but you have a purpose. And you don't always let yourself indulge in that lust for life until you've been victorious. And there's something to celebrate. Something that you feel like you've brought to your family, your heritage, your ancestors, the guru, you name it. I don't know what else to say on them at this point. I mean, I can be very passionate about them. I love the heritage. I am very familiar with it for a number of reasons, not least of which is the fact that I do hail from it. My wife has a significant Scandinavian heritage in her. I love some of the legends. I mean, I'm especially a fan when you get to Icelandic, Orcadian legends, some of the Norse legends and so on. They've got some huge flavor, and they don't always affect just the Get. I mean, when I run the Nekalavi storyline, that's all Fianna. There are other storylines that are based around the Get. Unfortunately, Get also tend to have a short lifespan, so we don't see, a lot of them don't remember exactly what we've run because they're not alive. So one other thing to remember, just because I want to point it out, is the Get don't actually believe you're an adult to become a foster. So if you're a client, don't get too haughty when you're around other Get. You're still a kid. It's not till you become a foster, and with the Get, you're not truly a foster until you've done the Rite of War. The Rite of War is one of their specialty rites where you're going to take on two big badass Aruna who are at least fostered already. You don't have to win. If you win, you're destined for glory. You're destined for big things, and they're gonna heap renown upon you. But you have to make a good showing. If you just curl up in a ball and they whoop your ass, they're probably going to sit around and say, he's not ready for fostering. They're going to strip renown away from you. They're going to make you work for it. So just remember, it's a very harsh tribe to play. They have a very harsh lifestyle. It makes them harsher. So hopefully this helps. If you have any comments, concerns, whatever, you can approach me or you can hit me up on here. So I'm always accessible. Take it easy.